Officer Frank Trujillo of the Dade County Police Department was not about to ignore the conversations that he overheard a stranger engage in on a nearby public telephone. By all outward appearances, the stranger was making arrangements for the delivery of controlled substances. When the stranger headed to his car, Officer Trujillo headed for his own and followed in the least obvious way. When Officer Trujillo saw the stranger fail to stop at a red light before making a right turn, he activated his overhead lights and pulled the stranger to the side of the road. In the process of investigating the traffic violation, Officer Trujillo learned that the stranger was a Jimeno. There were two other individuals in the car whom Officer Trujillo did not identify. He told Jimeno that he saw the failure to stop at the red light and that this was a traffic offense. Officer Trujillo also said that he felt Mr. Jimeno had drugs in his car and that he wanted to take a look inside to check it out. He even told Mr. Jimeno that he could decline the request to search the vehicle. And Jimeno, apparently thinking he could bluster through his engagement, responded by saying he had nothing to hide and gave permission to search his car. Officer Trujillo asked the two passengers to get out of the car, and he approached the passenger side of the vehicle. He opened the front door and saw a rolled up bag laying on the floorboard, a standard brown paper, nothing out of the ordinary bag. He reached for it, grabbed it, opened it up, and looked inside. There, Officer Trujillo saw a kilogram, 2.2 pounds, a brick of condensed white powdery substance known to that officer as cocaine, a highly controlled substance. The facts are simple enough to explain. The intent of the conversation and the resulting consent established in that conversation required a little more review. You see, Jimeno confirmed that his consent to look in his car was reasonable and a natural outcome of his brief exchange with Officer Trujillo. Where he diverged from the officer's understanding of the conversation, or at least he claimed to diverge at some much later date in the process, was the areas he gave Officer Trujillo to look. Jimeno claims he never intended to allow the officer to look inside any containers in his car, especially that brown paper, nothing out of the ordinary bag. So, we come to the heart of this issue. Where can officers look once they obtain an otherwise valid consent to search a car, a house, a jacket, the mail, or any of the other innumerable places they will get permission to search? The Supreme Court made it easy. Well, sort of. It held that an officer can consensually search wherever it is reasonably inferred he or she can search. In such a circumstance, it is necessary to ask, what would the typical reasonable person have understood by the exchange between the officer and the suspect? Was it reasonable for Officer Trujillo to consider Jimeno's general consent to search the car to include permission to look inside the paper bag lying on the floor of that car? The Supreme Court thought that it was a reasonable conclusion. Certainly the scope of the consent is defined by the express communication that the consent rests upon. But what's an officer to do when the expressions are generalized, vague, or even nondescript? The answer is relatively simple. Do what is reasonably inferred from the conversation. Officer Trujillo told Mr. Jimeno that he was interested in looking for controlled substances in the car. Mr. Jimeno could have placed any limitation he wanted to on giving permission to Officer Trujillo. But his response was to give the officer license to proceed with his quest to find drugs. A natural conclusion from that exchange, and so held the court, was that the officer could pick up a paper bag that may easily contain what he was searching for. It's not as if Officer Trujillo began damaging property or looking in bizarre places for controlled substances. He asked for permission to search for drugs, and once obtained, looked in those places where it was logical to find them. At no time did he do something that El Niño Jimeno asked him not to do. And more importantly, at no time did Officer Trujillo act unreasonably in his search. He met the golden rule of the Fourth Amendment, and the story of the Fourth Amendment continued on. I'm Marcus Hill, and this has been a FLETC Talk.